How's it going, everyone? Landon with LMR.com. Welcome to my overview and install on this 3-row aluminum radiator from SVE, designed specifically for the 1993 to 1995 SVT Lightnings. If you're in the market to replace a damaged or leaking factory radiator, or you just simply want to upgrade your factory radiator in your first-gen Lightning, then this 3-row aluminum radiator from SVE is a great option. It will incorporate 3 internal rows, which is going to allow for additional coolant capacity and will in turn help keep your 5.8-liter truck nice and cool. It's constructed from quality aluminum and will feature a nice silver finish that has a properly placed black SVE logo on the front of the radiator. All of the correct bolt holes, bracketry, and mounting provisions are accurately placed, so there won't be any extra modifications needed to install this SVE radiator into your Lightning. The inlet and outlet fittings share the same diameter as the factory radiator, so the upper and lower radiator hoses will slide right into place. Not only are those fittings factory spec, but the fittings for the overflow hose and EGR return hose are the correct size as well, which will allow those hoses to slide right on as well. A new cap is included along with a pre-installed drain plug so you can properly maintain your cooling system. To go along with all of those details, this SVE radiator even has the correct threaded provisions for the transmission cooler line fitting adapters. These adapters are simply removed from the factory radiator, cleaned, and then apply some Teflon tape to the threads and install them into your new SVE radiator. Of course, for those of you that are going to be bypassing these ports and are utilizing a standalone cooler for your transmission, you'll simply leave these ports open as no coolant or transmission fluid will leak out. SVE does design this radiator to work with all factory clutch fan setups and electric fan setups that bolt directly to a factory radiator. Unfortunately, we can't guarantee that every electric fan setup is going to work with our SVE aluminum radiator. This radiator is backed by SVE's limited lifetime warranty. For more information on the warranty, be sure and check out the product page. Again, this radiator is designed specifically for the first-gen 1993 to 1995 Lightnings. Now, for those of you that have not performed a complete cooling system flush in your F-150, you may want to reference our how-to video on how to properly do that in your truck. To begin the install, support the entire truck via a lift or just the front with jack stands. Open the radiator cap to vent the system. Position a drain pan underneath the drain plug. Attach an appropriate size hose over the drain nipple. Open the drain plug and allow the coolant to begin draining. Remove the spare tire wrench from the clips above the core support. Dislodge and remove the 2 push pins from the intake pipe. Fully remove the intake pipe from the truck. Remove the overflow hose from the upper fitting on the radiator. Now, remove the EGR return hose from the lower fitting. Remove the upper radiator hose clamp, and then remove the upper radiator hose from the radiator. Remove the upper air deflector from the core support. For a WD-40 on the transmission cooler fittings, loosen the upper fitting with a 1/2-inch flare nut wrench. Now, ours did want to put up a fight, so we applied heat to the fitting for approximately 1 minute. Hold the line with a pair of vice grips so that you don't burn yourself. Fully remove the upper line and fitting from the radiator. Position a drain pan underneath the lower cooler line. Loosen the fitting with a 1/2-inch flare nut wrench as well. Before fully removing the lower fitting, we opted to remove the lower radiator hose so that we didn't dump transmission fluid all over the hose. Remove the lower hose and be prepared for a little coolant to run out. Position the hose out of the way and then fully remove the line. Loosen and remove the 2 5/16 fan shroud to radiator retaining bolts. Of course, WD-40 may be needed. Pull up on the shroud to dislodge it from the lower retaining clips. Position it toward the engine and rest it on top of the clutch fan. Loosen and remove the 2 10mm radiator to core support bolts. The old radiator is now free to come out. Be sure and drain any additional coolant from the radiator so that it doesn't run out and make any extra mess. Remove the lower clips and upper speed nuts. Push the metal shell out of the upper bushings. Then you can pass the rubber bushing through the opening. Remove the line adapters from the factory radiator with a 5/8 flare nut wrench. Be sure and remove any excess thread sealer from these adapters. At this time, ensure that the lower insulators are in place. Wipe these down and then go ahead and clean the surrounding area. Place the new radiator on a workbench. Apply Teflon tape to the threads on the previously removed cooler line adapters. Install these into the provisions on the new radiator. Use the 5/8 flare nut wrench to tighten each adapter. It is important that you do not over-tighten these fittings. Install the upper rubber bushing into the provision on the new radiator. Insert the metal shell into the bushing from the back side. Do this for the other side. Transfer the lower clips to the new radiator. These will be installed into the oval-shaped holes at the bottom of the radiator. Go ahead and transfer the upper speed clips to the new radiator. These will install into the thinner oval-shaped holes at the top of the radiator. Now you can install the radiator into the truck and ensure that the lower brackets are properly positioned onto the lower insulators. Slide the lower radiator hose onto the outlet on the new radiator. Reinstall the radiator to core support retaining hardware. Go ahead and fully tighten these bolts. Reposition the hose clamp on the lower hose. Reinstall the lower transmission cooler fitting into the adapter. Ensure that the threads are aligned and then tighten the fitting with the 1/2-inch flare nut wrench. Reposition the fan shroud into the lower retaining clips. Align the upper speed nut with the bolt hole in the shroud. Reinstall and retighten the 2 bolts. Reinstall and retighten the upper cooler line fitting into the adapter. Reinstall the upper radiator hose and reposition the clamp. Slide the EGR return hose over the new radiator and reposition the hose clamp. Do the same for the overflow hose. Clean the upper air deflector and then reinstall it. Reinstall the intake pipe followed by the push pins. Reinstall the spare tire rod. Before filling the system, ensure that the drain valve on the new radiator is closed. Open the radiator cap. Pour enough coolant into the system until it begins to bubble at the coolant line. Remove the rubber hose from the coolant line coming from the thermostat housing. As you pour the coolant into the radiator, this will allow the air to be bled from within the system. Reinstall the hose and re-engage the clamp. Start the truck and get it to operating temperature, and of course add additional coolant if it's needed. Install the new radiator cap. After that, you're all finished. Alright guys, as far as installation goes, this one is pretty easy, especially if you have some sort of mechanical experience. Of course, if you aren't quite comfortable with doing the work yourself, be sure and run it down to your trustworthy local speed shop and they can install this one for you. To see more how-to and review videos covering industry-leading products, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and don't forget to turn on notifications. While you're at it, be sure and check out our other videos, and don't forget to shop lmr.com for all things 1979 to present Mustang, and of course, SVT Light.